Hello, I'm Bex Faraday, and I'm doing the Subject Learning Coach course at the moment online. This is Stage 1, Task 2, and I'm recording it in Second Life because I'm a nerd. Right, here I am in the School of Education and Training building, which floats 230 metres above Cornwall College Island. And I want to talk about a part of a lesson as opposed to a whole lesson that I felt really uncomfortable teaching, and how I could work on that and make it easier to teach next time. Now, the task asks me to think about how I can link what I did to Bloom's taxonomy, which means I'm probably going to go off at a bit of a tangent here. This is Percy the Pussy, by the way, who I've got to feed in a minute, so I'm going to be quick. I think I was supposed to talk about a whole lesson and how that could be improved, but Bloom's taxonomy struck a chord for me, and it was actually Bloom's taxonomy itself that I had difficulty teaching. Because I teach teachers on the Cert Ed, one of the concepts I have to teach to them is Bloom's taxonomy. And I found it really difficult to teach because I didn't really understand it. I used someone else's PowerPoint slide and accompanying handout to teach Bloom's taxonomy, and found it to be even more confusing as a result. Not because their materials were confusing, but because I had no ownership of those materials, which meant that I was even more confused and had even less comprehension than before, which meant that when it came to teach it, I was out of my depth, I didn't understand what I was doing, and I ended up simply skimming over it, very vaguely introducing the PowerPoint slide, and then giving a handout and saying, well, there it is. It looks at cognitive processes and knowledge, and there's a pyramid, and you start by having some knowledge, and then you have to synthesize it and understand it and use it, and it goes from being an abstract thing to a concrete thing, and from being simple to complex, and that's it. Let's move on anyway. That wasn't very good. I went home the night I taught that, and I felt that I'd really done my students a disservice. So I was really, really chuffed whilst I was helping to build Cornwall College Island here in Second Life, when another avatar called Thursday Zoo offered me a free copy of his interactive Bloom's taxonomy, which is here behind me. This is Bloom's taxonomy in 3D, and this is fantastic because not only can you clamber onto it, which sort of gives you that whole sort of hands-on, touchy-feely virtual thing, but it also shows you where the two domains or dimensions, the cognitive and the knowledge dimension, intersect. And you can actually click on each intersection and find some example of something meaningful and real that highlights what that intersection means. So here we can see conceptual, factual, procedural, metacognitive processes intersecting with remembering, understanding, applying, analysing, evaluating, and creating. And that's my BlackBerry that's just gone off in the background there. My apologies. This is the problem with Second Life. Anything could happen. I could start getting all kinds of messages from other avatars, and people could suddenly appear here and interrupt what I'm doing, which is why I've got to sort of keep this brief, which is probably mercifully good because otherwise it's going to get boring. So let's have a look at one of these intersections. Let's have a look at the conceptual and evaluating intersection, which if I click on with my mouse button, gives me an example, a real-life example of where that might happen. For example, down here, it says to determine the relevance of results, we're looking at the intersection between evaluating and conceptualizing. To look at the intersection of applying procedural cognitive processes, we could, for example, carry out pH tests of water samples. And if we want to look at applying something factual, we could check for consistency among sources. So I looked at this and I wandered around it and I clicked on these intersections, and I clicked up here and I was given a note card. which it won't give me now because I've already got it, which sort of laid out in bullet points what Bloom's taxonomy was all about. Let's see if I can find the note card that I was given. And here we go. And get it up on screen. There we are. So it showed me very bullet pointy information what Bloom's taxonomy was all about. And I read this, didn't commit it to memory, but read it enough times to really start understanding. Had a look at the examples it gave me here, and then thought, do you know what, maybe I can make this more meaningful for my students and not pass over it as being some taxonomy that I don't really understand, but actually get them to either set up avatars if they are Second Life savvy, walk around this as I did, and interact with it the way I did, or they could watch me interact with it and watch me clamber around on this giant sculpture thing whilst it's being displayed on a big interactive whiteboard in the classroom. And what they could do as a task, something that would actually make it more challenging in one respect but less challenging in another, and sort of help the whole cognitive process and the knowledge synthesize and sink in and become meaningful, was get them to look at these intersections, as I'm doing here, and relate them to their own practice. Maybe they could, if they were Second Life savvy, as I said, maybe they could make their own note card. Maybe they could make their own intersections and drop their note card off to me in Second Life. Maybe, see, I'm having ideas here as I speak, I could put a post box here and people could drop note cards in, like this note card, which would have what they would see as being meaningful intersections that relate to their subject areas. So they could teach anything from catering to woodwork to maths to psychology, and maybe they could replace these intersections here with their own and then drop them off to me, and we could discuss them and we can talk about them and we can walk around this giant, beautifully colourful Bloom's taxonomy and discuss it as a group. Get some real meaning, synthesize, understand, remember, do all the things, ironically, that Bloom teaches us to do with his taxonomy. So that's what I'm going to do the next time I have to teach this, which I think is going to be any week now as far as the Cert Ed module I'm teaching. And while I'm up here, just to shamelessly advertise Cornwall College Island, and more specifically the School of Education and Training, here I've got another walk-around model made by Thursday Zoo, which looks at Wenger's community of practice, which is a brilliant thing. And if we look down here, you'll see that this is something I'm making, which is an interactive walk-around of the teaching and training cycle. So the School of Education and Training is slowly becoming a sort of virtual walk-around interactive sculpture park with various teaching theories and processes advertised on it. Advertised and displayed and there for people to use, which is very exciting for a nerd like me. So that's it. Quick walk around. I'm going to stop spinning around before people start feeling airsick or seasick or motion sick. There it is, Bloom's taxonomy. I love it. I found this now to be more of a challenge in that how do I get students to interact, but less of a challenge because by interacting with it myself, I now understand it. I'm very happy with it. I've got to go and feed Percy now, so thank you.